The next page features the cover of Nintendo Power, Volume 125, from October 1999. It highlights Pokémon Yellow, Special Pikachu Edition, with Ash Ketchum and Pikachu on the cover. The top indicates playtest Donkey Kong 64. The side features a list of 64 games with in-depth strategies, including StarCraft 64, Road Rash 64, Hot Wheels, Turbo Racing, and Rayman 2. It also teases articles on Mega Muscle, WCW Mayhem, and Knockout Kings 2000. Plus, Aim to Win, articles on Jet Force Gemini, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, and Winback. This page promotes Nintendo Power as the source for Pokémon information. It playfully warns about Pokémon evolution, suggesting a subscription to understand it. The ad mentions the benefits of becoming a Pokémon master faster than Kadabra, evolves into Alakazam, gaining experience, and receiving tips, tricks, strategies, and secret codes. It also highlights coverage of other Nintendo games and inside scoops. A subscription costs $19.95 per year and includes a choice of a Pokémon Player's Guide, Pokémon Snap Player's Guide, or a Pokémon t-shirt. Finally, it offers a toll-free number for ordering. The next page is the table of contents for Volume 125, October 1999. The strategy section includes games like Jet Force Gemini, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, StarCraft 64, Road Rash 64, Winback, Hot Wheels Turbo Racing, Rayman 2, The Great Escape, WCW Mayhem, and Knockout Kings 2000, with a special feature on Donkey Kong 64. The Pokémon Special Pikachu Edition is also highlighted on page 108. Regular features include Player's Pulse, Classified Information, Counselor's Corner, PokéCenter, Player's Poll Contest, Arena, Now Playing, PakeWatch, Next Issue, and Game List. The page features images from Pokémon, StarCraft 64, Knockout Kings, Hot Wheels, and Jet Force Gemini. This page features the Player's Pulse section, where readers share their experiences with Nintendo products, highlighting durability and humorous incidents. Stories include a Game Boy being run over, surviving extreme weather, and enduring various mishaps. Games mentioned include Super Mario Bros. DX on Game Boy Color, Pokémon Pinball, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, and Quake. There are also fan art submissions featuring characters from Army Men, Super Mario Bros., and Zelda. The next page presents a power chart section, ranking Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games. The Nintendo 64 Top 20 is led by The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, followed by GoldenEye and Super Smash Bros. Pokémon Snap is also present. The Game Boy Top 10 features Pokémon at number 1, with The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, and Pokémon Pinball following. A Most Wanted list teases upcoming Nintendo 64 titles, such as Pokémon Stadium, Pokémon Yellow, and WWF Attitude. The page includes a letters section discussing topics like ear piercings and level settings in GoldenEye, and a Thanks for the Memories section awarding a Nintendo Power Reader who got to hang out with the development team of Battletanks 2. A Mario Play Nice section debates violence in Mario games and fan art submissions featuring Nintendo characters. Lastly, there is a Right Away section, prompting readers to share their ideas for horror-themed games and contact information for submitting content to Nintendo Power. This page is a full-page advertisement for Revolt, a radio-controlled car racing game with realistic physics and customizable tracks. It highlights the game's various environments, weapons, and racing modes available on Nintendo 64, PC, and PlayStation. The next page is a strategy guide for Jet Force Gemini on Nintendo 64. It introduces the game's story about an alien insect swarm and highlights the 4 playable characters: Juno, Vila, Lupus, and Floyd. The guide also mentions their unique abilities and separate paths in the game. A roadmap of the planets Goldwood and SS Anubis is shown. Finally, the page lists the various weapons available, including the shuriken, machine gun, plasma shotgun, and cluster bomb. This page provides a strategy guide for Goldwood in Jet Force Gemini, focusing on Juno's part of the planet. It details locations like Outset and Interior, noting the number of tribals you can rescue in each area. The guide includes steps on how to acquire items like the Gemini Crystal, shurikens, and Yellow Key. It advises players on rescuing tribals, fighting enemies such as the infantry weevils, and collecting power-ups like the machine gun and red gems. The page also features maps for Interior A and B, marking key locations. The next page presents a flowchart and strategy guide for the SS Anubis level in Jet Force Gemini, where Vila must save her sister and the tribals. It details locations like Hold A through H and Depository A and B, along with passageways A to D. The guide shows players where to find items like the plasma shotgun and cluster bombs. It explains how to destroy cell door panels, pulverize timed mines, save Vela and the 7 tribals, and rescue 9 tribals. Players need to climb boxes, blast control panels, and search areas for hidden items and passages. The page provides visual aids for completing objectives, such as rescuing tribals and navigating the depository. The next page focuses on multiplayer options in Jet Force Gemini. It details maps like SS Anubis and Rith Essa, each offering different gameplay modes, such as Battle Mode on the SS Anubis map, where crate piles offer strategic advantages. Tofret, a medieval planet, utilizes radar for navigation, and Target Range provides a unique depository-based challenge. The page also teases future content with The Bug Flood Continues, hinting at Mizar's growing threat, and critical missions involving Juno, Vila, Lupus, and Floyd. The advert for LEGO Racers promises fast-paced LEGO action, where you can build, race, and conquer. This page provides a detailed look at Army Men, Sarge's Heroes for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's blend of Toy Story-like plot with Mission Impossible-style gameplay. The article describes the game's premise of green plastic army men battling the Tan Army, led by Sergeant Hawk. It mentions the game's auto-aim feature and 3 difficulty levels. The page showcases Sarge's arsenal, detailing weapons like the machine gun, shotgun, sniper rifle, grenade launcher, bazooka, mortar, grenades, flamethrowers, mines, and minesweepers, with brief descriptions of their uses. The page also provides tips and tricks for Mission 1, Tan Attack, offering advice on navigating the map, rescuing Colonel Grimm, and escorting him to the helipad. Locations A and B are indicated on a minimap. The next page is a strategy guide for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, focusing on various missions. Mission 2 involves capturing a blue spy, with advice on taking the high road, using stealth, and dealing with bazookas and tanks. A map shows the route. Mission 3 focuses on rescuing the blue spy, highlighting hazards like a deadly tub of water and navigation issues. Mission 4 guides the player on rescuing rifts, emphasizing stealth and mine usage. Finally, Missions 5 and 6 task the player with rescuing Hoover and finding a portal in the forest, including tips on crossing a dangerous river and dealing with snipers. This page is a strategy guide continuing for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. Mission 7, In the Thick of It, involves navigating a garden setting, finding thick, and dealing with enemies like army ants. Tips cover scouting around, booby traps, making an escape, and dealing with army ants. Mission 9, Spring Shrap, deals with rescuing Shrap from a prison compound, offering advice on red alerts, gray soldiers, sniping, and locating Shrap. There is also a section called Vicky Grimm, reporting live. And lastly, Mission 8 focuses on the mission called Snowbound, on how to get to the bridge, climb every mountain, and disable the fence. There is a section called Plastro's Plans, which speaks on Plastro's schemes to turn soldiers into spiders. It also wonders if Vicky will turn traitor, talks about a strange new world, and the final showdown with Plastro. The next page features the game Army Men, highlighting multiplayer modes for 2 to 4 players, including head-to-head matches and team challenges where players can customize their plastic soldier's color. There are screenshots showing 2-player split-screen matches and 3 to 4-player challenges. A section called What Lies Ahead encourages players to save their progress using a controller pack or a password. Screenshots preview levels like Scorch Mission, Showdown, Kitchen, and Living Room. There's also an advertisement for Asteroids Hyper 64, showcasing its graphics and multiplayer modes. This page is filled with cheat codes and tips for various Fun 64 and Game Boy Color games. For Quake 2, there are codes to alter colors, enable infinite ammo, and adjust gravity. World Driver Championship has a button sequence to unlock all GT2 cars. New Tetris players can use a code to speed up the game. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil on Game Boy has passwords for bird mode, level skip, infinite lives, infinite energy, and infinite weapons. Top Gear Pocket for Game Boy Color offers codes to unlock all cars, courses, and instantly win gold trophies. This page features cheat codes and tips for 3 games. Bass Hunter 64 includes codes for increased money, unlocking lakes, removing snags, and making fish more active, among other effects. Montezuma's Return has passwords to pass through locked doors and gain unlimited lives. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer contains information on unlocking the debug menu to tweak various game settings, a full cheat menu, unlocking all racers and tracks, and enabling autopilot. There are also gameplay tips, such as fast forward, rewind, invisible pod racer, monochrome mode, and self-destruct. The page also has a hidden printer feature for clacks on the Game Boy. The next page is an advertisement for Monster Truck Madness 64. It features the tagline, "Reach out and crush someone," and highlights the game's free-roaming, 3D monster truck racing carnage. The ad mentions 7 gameplay modes, like circuit racing and indoor soccer, multiplayer support for up to 4 players, and includes trucks such as Bigfoot and Gravedigger. It also features the Rockstar Games logo and carries an ESRB rating of E for everyone. This page features Donkey Kong 64, showcasing an in-store demo and a sneak peek at the 8-pack. It highlights Diddy's Funhouse Mine Ride, with details on gameplay elements like coin collecting, avoiding obstacles, and navigating track switches. The page teases new Kong characters and larger worlds, mentioning over 7,000 playable demos available in stores. It also provides tips for the Mine Ride segment, including advice for Reckless Gold Rush, Split-Second Switch, Strangers in the Dark, and TNT with Attitude sections, emphasizing speed control and obstacle avoidance. This page focuses on Chunky's volcanic crisis in Donkey Kong 64. It previews new characters and showcases Chunky Kong taking on a mega reptilian boss in a lava-filled environment. The article provides tips for various boss battle phases, including Barrel Brouhaha, Fireball 5-pack, Apocalyptic Tantrums, Out for a Spin, Behemoth Barrel, Off the Richter Scale, Turbocharged Punches, Cannonball Run, and Reptile Roast. The tips cover strategies like throwing TNT barrels, avoiding fire attacks, using spin moves, and unleashing super punches. The next page highlights Donkey Kong's Armadillo Assault in Donkey Kong 64, showcasing an armadillo boss battle. It gives tips on how to defeat the armadillo, including how to avoid its attacks and use TNT barrels against its weak spot. It mentions different attack phases like Get the Last Laugh, Juggernaut on a Roll, Harrier Jump Jet, and Manic Ammo Blammo. The page also promotes an upcoming Kong-sized pack with more safari surprises. The page also includes an advertisement for NBA Jam 2000. It showcases the game's features like 2-on-2 Jam Mode, 5-on-5 Simulation Mode, custom courts, and high-resolution graphics. This page is a strategic overview for StarCraft 64. It prepares players to engage the alien menace in StarCraft 64 with tips for interstellar commanders. It provides information on Terran units like the SCV, Marine, Firebat, Medic, Ghost, Vulture, Siege Tank, Goliath, Wraith, Dropship, Science Vessel, Valkyrie Frigate, and Battlecruiser. It also outlines Terran structures and their prerequisites, such as the missile turret, supply depot, factory, starport, control tower, nuclear silo, engineering bay, command center, academy, machine shop, science facility, covert ops, refinery, barracks, bunker, comsat station, and physics lab. The page includes screenshots of gameplay and highlights the importance of resource management in the Outer Rim worlds. The game is rated teen. This page provides a guide to Zerg and Protoss units and structures in StarCraft 64. For the Zerg, it details units like the Overlord, Drone, Zergling, Hydralisk, Lurker, Scourge, Mutalisk, Guardian, Devourer, Queen, Ultralisk, Defiler, and Infested Terran. The Zerg structures and their building prerequisites are also listed, including the Creep, Hatchery, Extractor, Spawning Pool, Evolution Chamber, Lair, Hydralisk Den, Sunken Colony, Spore Colony, Spire, Greater Spire, Hive, Nidus Canal, Queen's Nest, and Defiler Mound. Similarly, for the Protoss, units such as the Probe, Zealot, Dragoon, High Templar, Dark Templar, Reaver, Scout, Corsair, Shuttle, Observer, Arbiter, Carrier, Archon, and Dark Archon are described. Protoss structures like the Pylon, Nexus, Assimilator, Gateway, Forge, cybernetics core, shield battery, photon cannon, robotics facility, robotics support bay, Stargate, fleet beacon, Citadel of Adun, Templar archives, arbiter tribunal, and observatory are presented with their building requirements. The page includes accompanying unit and structure images. The next page features StarCraft 64's multiplayer modes, describing strategies and scenarios. It includes multiplayer basics, with resource gathering and defense tactics, custom scenarios, and several game types: Pro Bowl, Zergling, King of the Hill, Old Faithful, and StarCraft. The page also contains a contest for All-Star Tennis 99, where you can win tennis gear and a Nintendo 64. To enter, you need to match the players to their numbers in the advert, including Michael Chang, Yana Novotna, Mark Philippoussis, Gustavo Kuerten, Amanda Kuetzer, Richard Krajicek, and Jonas Bjorkman. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Road Rash 64. The page focuses on the game's features, including the Bad to the Bone career mode, where players start as an indie biker and earn their way into rival clubs like the Thrashers and Rumblers. It also highlights Thrash mode for practice, multiplayer options, and the Big Game, which features a large explorable area. The Big Picture section describes the terrain and racing strategies. There are screenshots showcasing gameplay, menus, and bike customization options. The game has a teen rating for fast-paced action and explosive demolition sequences. The next page details aspects of Road Rash 64. It starts with a guide on ride-in style, recommending bike selection based on driving style, with cruiser bikes for quick acceleration but needing finesse and sport bikes for cornering. The bikes are listed in tiers: Starter, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, Level 4, and Boss Hogs, each with a cost and acceleration, handling, and durability ratings. The page also includes tips like Test Spin, Fight or Flight, Quick Fix, Rules of the Road, and Sleight of Hand, offering advice on bike testing, strategic combat, bike repairs, road rules, and disarming opponents. This page is an advertisement for NFL Blitz 2000, showcasing the game's over-the-top football action. It highlights features like no referees, no rules, and no mercy. Screenshots show explosive plays and the on-fire mode. The page also includes last year's accolades, proclaiming it the #1 selling football game for Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color. Also, Best N64 Sports Game. The ad mentions new 4-player mode and features easy plays and animations. The gaming platforms are listed as well, including Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation, and PC. On the left side of the page are gameplay tips for Road Rash 64, with sections titled Center of Attention, Get Your Kicks, Stockpile, Watch Your Back, Pack Attack, and Powerful Punch, giving advice on gameplay strategies and tactics. The next page features gameplay tips and tricks for 2 games, Command & Conquer 64 and Mario Golf. For Command & Conquer 64, the tips focus on commando missions, emphasizing stealth and tactical unit deployment. It advises players to use secondary entrances to bases, be aware of hidden enemies in the brush, and use the terrain to their advantage. The tips also cover combat skills, suggesting the destruction of enemy construction yards and power plants, as well as using mixed teams of units. For Mario Golf, the page answers player questions about gameplay mechanics. One tip explains how to replay a hole by saving and quitting before finishing it. Another suggests bouncing the ball through rings in ring shot mode. Finally, it discusses altering the point of contact on the ball to influence its trajectory, like hitting slightly to the right of dead center to use a draw, topping the ball for a low shot, and using a sand wedge to scoop for extra lift. The next page presents tips and tricks for Quake 2 and Super Mario Bros. DX. In Quake 2, the page details how to defeat the Guardian tank in Mission 18, advising players to strafe to avoid its fire, and use the BFG 10K and railgun to inflict damage. It also explains how to cross a broken bridge in orbital defense by turning off the gravity generator. Lastly, it reveals the locations of 3 secrets in the Intelligence Center. For Super Mario Bros. DX, the page discusses how to find Yoshi eggs in challenge mode, noting that the game provides hints via the toy box. It explains the meaning of the star next to stage names, indicating that the second quest is available. There is also a queue and a section covering Shadowgate 64, Yoshi's Story, and Conker's Pocket Tales, addressing various gameplay queries. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Paperboy, showcasing the updated 3D graphics and gameplay. The ad highlights features like upgrading your bike, performing aerial tricks, and exploring over 45 routes with 100 interactive obstacles. It emphasizes the game's balance, sense of direction, and cool bike, while also noting the 3D engine and third-person chase camera, returning the classic arcade game to the Nintendo 64. The next page provides a preview of Winback Covert Operations for the Nintendo 64, comparing it to GoldenEye 007. The page details the game's story mode, multiplayer options like Last One Standing, Tag, Cube Hunt, Team Battle, and Point Match. It also highlights gameplay mechanics such as reload reflex, candid cameras, boomboxes, roll to safety, and trace the path. The game involves a special operations team deployed to reclaim a military satellite, with the player guiding Jean-Luc through various firefights and scenarios. This page features a guide to Winback Covert Operations for the Nintendo 64. It breaks down Stage 01 and Stage 02, including maps and item lists featuring MP5 magazines, SPA 5 shell boxes, C4 explosives, medical kits, silencer pistols, and magazine pouches. The guide offers tips on stealth, combat, and exploration. Tactics like using cover, disarming lasers, and finding hidden items are detailed. The next page continues the Winback Covert Operations Guide, now covering stages 03, 04, and 05. Each stage has a map and item list, which includes ammunition, health, and a rocket launcher for stage 03. There are tips for dealing with snipers, machine gun nests, electric gates, and Leela, a challenging enemy. The guide also highlights the importance of destroying crates and barrels, navigating lasers, and using switches to create bridges. The two-shot rule is explained for combat tactics. This page continues the guide for Winback Covert Operations, focusing on Main Office Stage 06. The page includes a map, item list including ammunition types and medical kits, and strategies for the stage, such as dealing with enemies in high locations, laser beams, and using SPIC-4 explosives. The final conflict is compared to GoldenEye, as intense with the need to be stealthy to beat the dangerous beam. The page also features screenshots of gameplay and an image of the S.C.A. logo. Finally, the page features an image of Earthworm Jim and the logo of the upcoming Earthworm Jim 3D game. The next page showcases Hot Wheels Turbo Racing for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the game's airtime challenge, trick system, and turbo techniques. It mentions the game features jumps, loop-the-loops, and other daredevil setups, and encourages players to perform high-flying stunts to earn points and speed boosts. Different modes of play are mentioned with exhibition racing and multiplayer racing, along with the best power-ups, such as the rubber car, car of steel, super handling, and gyro. This page offers a guide to unlocking secret cars and tracks in Hot Wheels Turbo Racing for the Nintendo 64. It details how to find hidden cars within each course of the Hot Wheels Cup, giving specific instructions for each location, such as using power-ups to reach hidden areas or navigating specific turns. It also highlights the vehicles and tracks that are unlocked upon completing the Hot Wheels Cup. The next page features a promotional spread for Base Hunter 64 on the Nintendo 64, touting size matters as its main selling point. It emphasizes the game's realistic fishing experience, leveraging in fishermen's expertise. Screenshots showcase the game's underwater camera views, 3D lake environments, and the promise of catching monster bass. This page presents a segment titled PokeCenter, All Pokemon, All the Time, focusing on Pokemon Snap and featuring a response from Professor Oak regarding player photography skills. There's a PokeChat section answering fan questions about Pokemon game trading between regions, the Dash engine's purpose, the mystery of the truck near the S, and Pokemon appearances in Super Smash Bros., cartoon scheduling, trade evolutions, and counterfeit trading cards. The page also showcases fan art submissions in the Gallery section. Names and locations of the artists are below each artwork and include Aerodactyl by Parker Fitzgerald, Sandshrew by Ryan Moorer, and Nidoking by Kathy Green. Additionally, there's a list of Pokemon with associated point values. Some of the Pokemon included are Arcanine, Bulbasaur, Chansey, Charmander, Cloyster, Ditto, Dragonite, Dugtrio, Electabuzz, Geodude, Graveler, Growlithe, Haunter, Jynx, Kangaskhan, Lapras, Magmar, Magneton, Meowth, Moltres, Pidgey, Poliwag, Psyduck, Sandshrew, Scyther, Slowbro, Snorlax, Starmie, Victreebel, Vileplume, Vulpix, Zapdos, and Zubat. The next page features Ask the Professor, where questions about Pokemon Snap and why the player hasn't received the Pokeflute are answered. It guides the player to Secret Cove in the Valley level, explaining how to hit a Mankey with a Pester Ball to unlock the cove and the use of the Dash engine. There is information about why Haunter won't evolve into Gengar without trading, and how to effectively use Tilt in Pokemon Pinball. The Colosseum section highlights Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, and Pikachu teams in Pokemon Yellow, detailing their moves and strategies. Tauros and Snorlax strategies are also reviewed. The Gallery showcases fan art, including drawings of Dragonair by Giovanni Monteleone, Poison Types by Alex Ellen, Machoke by Jordan Wolfe, and Thundershock Pikachu by Jeanette Hall. This page discusses Pokemon, starting with a fictional news piece about Pikachu visiting the White House, including photos of Pikachu with the presidential seal, answering a secure phone, and addressing national security issues. It also warns consumers about counterfeit Pokemon products, advising them to check for proper copyright information and the Nintendo seal of quality, and shows a pile of confiscated fake merchandise. The page then transitions into a comic strip featuring the Pokemon training room. The characters Misty and another trainer are discussing gym badges and simulator training, with Misty calling out Starmie and the other trainer countering with Weepinbell, hinting at a water-type versus grass-type battle. The next page is another section of the Pokemon comic. It shows Giselle defeating Joe in a trainer battle, and then a face-off ensues with Misty, focusing on Giselle's self-proclaimed superiority. The comic highlights the interactions and rivalries within the Pokemon training environment. This page continues the Pokemon comic, focusing on the battle between Giselle and Ash. Giselle's Graveler defeats Misty's Starmie, highlighting the importance of training over type matchups. Ash challenges Giselle, sparking a rivalry based on different training philosophies. Giselle mocks Ash for his perceived inexperience, focusing on his unevolved Pikachu and lack of badges. The next page features the Pokemon comic, where Giselle challenges Ash to a Pokemon battle, using her Cubone. Ash initially uses Pikachu, but Cubone's bone blocks Pikachu's electricity. Giselle then uses Leer, throwing Pikachu off balance. Ash then commands Pikachu to use Quick Attack. This page continues the Pokemon comic where Ash and Pikachu battle Giselle and her Cubone. Pikachu uses Swift Attack, eventually defeating Cubone. Team Rocket appears, reciting their motto, and challenges the group, leading to a confrontation. The next page features the continuation of the Pokemon comic, where Team Rocket gets blasted off after trying to steal Pokemon. The comic then transitions to Ash and his friends returning from their Pokemon Tech course, with Ash's friends reflecting on their time there and their future goals. A call to action is made for people to continue reading about the adventures. The page also contains an advertisement for new games, available for $10 down. Games featured include StarCraft 64, Jet Force Gemini, Pokemon Yellow version and Special Pikachu edition for Game Boy, and Donkey Kong 64. Contact information for shopping is also included. This page is dedicated to Rayman 2, The Great Escape for the N64. It highlights the game's premise, introducing Rayman, the limbless hero, who must restore the primordial energy core after robotic pirates shatter it. The page details key elements, such as the yellow, green, and red lums, as well as pirate cages, Murphy, Rayman's guide, and the Hall of Doors. It explains how the lums help Rayman, and describes some of the game's mechanics, including finding magic stones, freeing captives behind bars, gathering lums, scaling walls, and meeting the Teensies. Screenshots provide visual examples of these gameplay elements. This page details two sections of Rayman 2 for the N64, Fairy Glade and the Marshes of Awakening. In Fairy Glade, the goal is to collect 50 yellow lums and free 7 cages, while dealing with mechanized swabbies. Tips are provided for various challenges like using vines, activating switches, diving underwater, and battling pirates. The Marshes of Awakening is broken into 2 areas. There are tips for navigating lily pads, using ropes, avoiding piranhas, and operating a slinky. There are tips on how to use Sam for water skiing to collect items and break cages, including how to trigger his wider swing to get to dry land. The final tip involves revisiting the area after collecting 120 lums and visiting Clark in the Menhir Hills to defeat the Guardian of Bad Dreams. The next page features 2 areas from Rayman 2 for the N64, the Bayou and the Sanctuary of Water and Ice. The Bayou involves chasing pirates on a flying galleon by riding barrels and flipping switches. The Sanctuary of Water and Ice focuses on helping Polocus restore the planet's energy by collecting special masks. For the Bayou, tips include navigating cannonball runs, lowering bridges with switches, dodging pirate attacks in narrow corridors, and using spiral pathways while avoiding obstacles. Tips for the Sanctuary of Water and Ice include finding sunken treasure, exploring cave cages, making explosive entrances, using magic spheres, and navigating slippery chutes. There are also strategies for defeating the Gorilla Pirate and Axel, Guardian of Water and Ice, and for obtaining the first mask. This page presents information on the Menhir Hills area in Rayman 2, where Rayman must collect masks to awaken Polocus. It includes guides for 4 sections: Shell Game, Above the Tree, Asleep at the Switch, and Meet Clark. Players are instructed on how to lure and ride missile shells, jump on toadstools, destroy snoozing pirates, and find Clark, who needs a life potion. It also mentions the need to return to the Marshes of Awakening to complete Step 7 on page 87. The page then previews additional levels: Whale Bay, the Sanctuary of Lava and Fire, and the Echoing Caves. Finally, an advert for Nuclear Strike 64 is shown, highlighting features such as over 10 controllable vehicles, smart battlefields, and photorealistic textures, and is advertised as available this winter. The next page is an advertisement for WCW Mayhem on Nintendo 64. The focus is on the game's features, including a roster of over 50 wrestlers, TV-style presentation, and various match types such as main event and musical chairs. It highlights gameplay aspects like quick start, rope maneuvers, finishing moves, backstage weapons, and sneak attacks. The ad showcases wrestlers like Goldberg, Sting, Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T, Bret Hart, Buff Bagwell, Conan, Ernest Miller, Kurt Hennig, Bobby Duncombe Jr., Kenny Kaus, Norman Smiley, Wrath, Horace, and Scott Norton. This page details Quest for the Best in WCW Mayhem, explaining how to climb the ranks to win championships, starting with the television title and progressing to the heavyweight championship. It also explains how to unlock hidden characters. The page also describes the Your Very Own Monster feature, allowing players to customize wrestlers' names, appearances, personalities, faction, style, attitude, intro music, and abilities. Strength, impact, speed, quickness, aerial, mat ability. It showcases the game's roster of WCW wrestlers, including Stevie Ray, Steve McMichael, Alex Wright, Hollywood Hogan, Rey Mysterio Jr., Kaz Hayashi, Scott Steiner, Kidman, Lizmark Jr., Kevin Nash, Eddie Guerrero, Prince Iaukea, Lex Luger, Juventud Guerrera, Raven, Disco Inferno, Psychosis, Saturn, Chris Benoit, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Canyon, Dean Malenko, and La Parka. Finally, the page provides pay-per-view passwords to recreate real-life WCW events, listing Kidman vs. Juvie, Raven vs. Saturn, Diamond Dallas vs. Goldberg, and La Parka vs. Psychosis. This page provides tips and tricks for WCW Mayhem, detailing wrestling moves such as Luck of the Irish, Turnbuckle Torture, and Apron Grapple. It also tells players how to unlock characters like Arn Anderson, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Sonny Onu. Additionally, it promotes the Game Destruction Derby 64, showcasing its gameplay, vehicles, and multiplayer options like Hit the Road, High Speed Chaos, Multiplayer Mayhem, and Hardcore Demolition Action. The next page is a player's poll contest for Esports Supercross 2000, offering a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas to see the biggest names in the sport battle for the championship. The grand prize includes a Fox Racing helmet and shift jersey. Second prize features autographed Fox Racing helmets, shift jerseys, and the Esports Supercross 2000 game. Third prize offers Nintendo Power t-shirts. The page includes official contest rules and details on how to enter. This page is an advert for the game WWF WrestleMania 2000 on the Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color, released in November 1999. It features the tagline, "The New King Enters the Ring," and showcases the logos for WWF WrestleMania, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, and the developers THQ and Jakks Pacific. The game rating is listed as RP, rating pending. The next page is a review of Knockout Kings 2000 for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's features, including Quick Start, Career Mode, and the ability to train your boxer. The review mentions that the game uses motion capture to create realistic fighter movements. It also lists several famous boxers featured in the game like Ali, Frazier, Holmes, Holyfield, Lewis, Tua, Spinks, Butterbean, De La Hoya, and Leonard. The reviewer appreciates that the game doesn't allow you to cheat by using weapons, focusing on a more realistic boxing experience. Quote, "This page provides a guide to moves and techniques in Knockout Kings 2000 for Nintendo 64. It explains offensive moves like jabs, uppercuts, body blows, hooks, power punches, and super punches, as well as combinations. The defense section covers staying fleet, bobbing and weaving, protecting your assets, and stopping hits. It also includes tips on watching your percentage and finding an opening. Featured boxers include Hagler, Duran, Whitaker, Corte, Carr, Vargas, Reed, Mosley, Pryor, and Arguello." This page is about the game Ninja Block Covert Operations for the Nintendo 64. The page features the ability to create a boxer with customizable names, skills, appearance, and signature moves. You can engage in a slugfest mode against the computer or a friend, in venues ranging from the Coliseum in Rome to a small gym in Detroit. The game also offers a replay feature to view highlights from different angles. There's mention of fighters like O'Grady, Mayweather, Manfredi, Kelly, and Romero, with descriptions of their fighting styles and strengths. On the right is an advert for Ninja Block Covert Operations, highlighting its explosive N64 adventure, intense third-person action, precision laser aiming, immense 3D environments, battles against heavily armed bosses, and Rumble Pack support. It boasts exciting 24-player modes, including Lethal Tag, Cube Hunt, and Quick Draw. The next page presents a feature on Pokémon Yellow Special Pikachu Edition for the Game Boy. It emphasizes the game's optimization for the Game Boy Color and its alignment with the television cartoon, noting that Pikachu refuses to stay inside its Pokeball, just like in the show. The page details how Pikachu follows the player on screen and how its mood can be checked. It also discusses Gary, Blue, the player's rival, who now starts with an Eevee that evolves differently based on battles. It touches upon encounters with Team Rocket members Jesse and James, and the ability to find Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. The page includes a chart of Pikachu's moves and their levels, like Thundershock, Growl, Tail Whip, and new moves such as Double Team and Light Screen. It also mentions potential evolutions of Eevee into Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon. This page offers tips and tricks for Pokémon Yellow. It covers various in-game events and objectives such as obtaining Charmander, Squirtle, and the Bike Voucher, navigating Rock Cave with Flash, and finding hidden items with the Item Finder. It also includes advice on fighting Team Rocket using Cut, Surfing, and moving boulders. There are also Pokémon like Slowpoke, Snorlax, and Parasect. This page focuses on the unknown dungeon in Pokémon Yellow, offering maps and Pokémon frequency charts. It details the Pokémon available on the first and second floors, as well as the basement level. The page also highlights items found in these areas, such as max elixirs, rare candies, and Ultra Balls. Additionally, it introduces Coliseum 2 in Pokémon Yellow, a new battle mode, accessible by linking 2 GameLink cable games. The page also touches on the rules for 3 new cups: the Poke Cup, Pika Cup, and Petit Cup. This page features a Surfing Pikachu giveaway, where 1,000 winners could get a Surfing Pikachu transferred to their Pokémon Yellow game or win a t-shirt. It explains how to enter by mailing a 3x5 card with personal information. It also contains entry rules and legal disclaimers. On the right is an advertisement for the game Armorines. The next page features the Challenges section, highlighting different games and offering challenges to readers. It includes screenshots and challenges for Pokémon Snap, Mario Golf, and Monster Truck Madness 64. Readers are encouraged to send in their high scores and photos to potentially win prizes. The page also has a WWF Attitude move in Fisherman Base Hunter, 64 Lure, or Dance Step. Quiz, mixing wrestling moves, fishing lures, and dance steps for readers to identify. There is also a scoreboard with high scores for games like WCW/NWO Revenge, Banjo-Kazooie, Rush 2, and The Legend of Zelda DX, plus a list of players who caught 150 Pokémon. This page is an advertisement for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, a game available on Nintendo 64, PlayStation, and 3Do. It uses a playful image of green plastic army men in a bowl of cereal to promote the game. The ad copy emphasizes the game's action, calling it a way to start your day fortified with air troops, ground troops, and 8 essential vitamins. Several screenshots showcase the game's graphics and gameplay, with the tagline, Real Combat, Plastic Men. A website address is also given for more information. This page features a preview of upcoming Nintendo 64 games. It spotlights 3 titles, StarCraft 64, Jet Force Gemini, and Rayman 2, The Great Escape. StarCraft 64 is described as a galactic struggle, noting sharp unit icons but potential slowdown with many units on screen. The review highlights customizable controls and considers it a great port with the Brood War missions. The game received an overall rating of 8.2. Staff scores are Kyle, 8.9, Scott, 8.7, Andy, 8.0, Ed, 7.7, and Dan, 7.6. Jet Force Gemini is introduced as a new rage from Rare. The review praises the 3D worlds, character design, and state-of-the-art animation. It's noted as a shooter at heart, with intense action gameplay, receiving a 9.0 rating. Staff scores are Nate, 9.7, Jason, 9.4, Scott, 9.0, Andy, 8.5, and Sanja, 7.8. Rayman 2, The Great Escape, is touted for its graphics and well-animated characters, receiving an 8.1 rating. The review emphasizes intuitive controls and excellent cutscenes. The game features funny characters and tight play control. Staff scores are Jason, 9.0, Andy, 8.8, Scott, 8.1, Nate, 7.7, and Kyle, 7.5. The next page features reviews for 2 Nintendo 64 games, Knockout Kings 2000 and WCW Mayhem, and an advert for Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Knockout Kings 2000 is praised for its graphics, responsive controls, and the variety offered by its game design. It receives an overall rating of 8.0 with staff scores given. The review also mentions its Create a Boxer mode and arenas. WCW Mayhem is reviewed with emphasis on the game's graphics, easy controls, and multiplayer appeal. The review notes the pay-per-view mode with passwords available online, and it receives an overall rating of 7.5, with staff scores given. The advert for Rainbow Six emphasizes its tactical gameplay and the intensity of the real-world action, as it states, "It's your one shot to save the world." This page features 3 Nintendo 64 games. The first review is for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, noted for its graphics and gameplay variety, but criticized for loose play control. It gets an overall rating of 7.4 and mentions 3D0 and Plastic People. The second review covers Hot Wheels Turbo Racing, praised for its stunts and enjoyable gameplay, but may lack challenge for hardcore racing fans, with an overall rating of 7.3. The third section is an advert for Top Gear Hyperbike, emphasizing high-speed street racing and extreme motocross, with licensed motorcycles, various track layouts, and player modes like Championship and Time Attack. The next page features 2 Nintendo 64 games and an advert. Winback gets an overall rating of 7.2, praised for graphics and standard covert ops missions, but criticized for twitchy camera control and lack of intuitive play. Reviewers note the realistic feeling and impressive dodging maneuvers. Next is Road Rash 64, also rated 7.2, highlighting its mixed graphics, easy controls, and multiplayer mode, but disappointment in the use of voices. Reviewers praise the thrash soundtrack and fun multiplayer. On the right is an advert for WWF Attitude, featuring wrestlers and special match types. The next page features reviews for NASCAR 2000 on the Nintendo 64 and Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color, alongside the game Tonic Trouble, and a UBI soft advert. NASCAR 2000 receives an overall rating of 6.8, with positive remarks about graphics, improved handling, and realistic sound. Reviewers commend the improved gameplay, but note, it's just an enhanced version, with some finding it boring. Pokemon Yellow earns a higher score of 8.0, being praised for its graphics, play control, game design, and satisfaction. Reviewers appreciate Pikachu following the character and the game's TV show similarities. The page also features an advert for Tonic Trouble on the Nintendo 64, a platformer with wacky visuals and a focus on puzzle solving. The advertisement includes some of the bizarre characters and settings within the game. This page features reviews for 2 Game Boy Color games, Missile Command and Hole-in-One Golf. Missile Command receives an overall rating of 6.4, with praise for its rumble feature and classic gameplay, alongside improved backgrounds. Hole-in-One Golf gets a 5.6, and the reviewers note the strength in graphics, though they find the play control and realism disappointing with repetitive music. The page also advertises collectible Pokemon dog tags. The next page features a review of Tower Lord Baneff's Deceit for the Game Boy Color, which receives an overall rating of 5.3. The review praises the traditional RPG elements, but notes issues with graphics, play control, and story. Nintendo Power Staff scores are included, with Andy giving it a 6.7, Nate 5.9, Ed 5.6, Scott 5.3, and Armand 3.0. It also contains a section called Behind the Numbers and Names, detailing the evaluators and their gaming preferences, listing the Nintendo staff members, and Gady, Armand, Dan, Ed, Henry, Jason, Kyle, Nate, Scott, and Sanja. The page also promotes the Pokemon Special Pikachu Edition for Game Boy, with an expected release date of October 26, 1999, for $29.95, and advertises Funkoland. The age ratings are also presented for different game categories. This page is packed with exciting Nintendo news. It kicks off with PackWatch, diving into the new Game Boy Advance technology, highlighting its powerful 32-bit RISC CPU, reflective TFT color LCD screen, and internet connectivity. The page also details specifications like display size, resolution, and battery life. The article then shifts to Play Preview with THQ's WrestleMania 2000 for the Nintendo 64, promising a wrestling game with incredible customization and realistic animation. It mentions modes like Exhibition, King of the Ring, Road to WrestleMania, Pay-Per-View, and Royal Rumble. There are also smaller segments dedicated to WWF WrestleMania 2000 for Game Boy Color, Turok, Rage Wars for the N64, Earthworm Jim 3D, and Dragon Warrior Monsters. This page dives into hands-on previews of upcoming games. Red Storm Insight, Player's Delight, discusses the N64 version of Rainbow Six, highlighting its strategic complexities and 3D graphics. The reviewer notes the planning stage was tough to duplicate on a console, but the action is more dangerous than in Blitz. Worming Into Your Heart is a preview of Earthworm Jim, detailing Jim's internal struggles and his quest to find his marbles. The game will feature a wacky arsenal of weapons and moves. Fight On! Xena discusses Xena, Talisman of Fate, a 4-player battle game for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer mentions selecting fighters like Xena, Gabrielle, Joxer, Callisto, and Autolycus, and praises the camera AI. Lastly, Turok Kicks Bot previews Turok Rage Wars, concentrating on the fun aspects of Turok 2. It mentions hunting each other through dungeons, collecting weapons, and fragging enemies, with a multiplayer mode. This page, titled Pack Wrap, highlights the Nintendo Space World 99 event in Tokyo, Japan. The reviewer mentions the event was a consumer expo where the public could check out Nintendo's lineup free of charge. The game Zelda Gaiden is discussed, noting improved frame rates and graphics, and hinting at the need for an expansion pack. The game involves masks and transforming into different beings to solve puzzles and navigate the world. Other games mentioned include Kirby's Star 64, Super Mario RPG 2 with its unique 2D's 3D graphical presentation, Mother 3, Earthbound 64, Doshin the Giant One, Mario Party 2 with new boards and minigames, Custom Robo, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Zelda, Fruit of the Mysterious Tree, and Mr. E-Toys Bass Fishing. The reviewer notes the crowds around Pokemon Gold and Silver machines and the Smash Bros. Coliseum. The next page, titled Pack Peaks, summarizes upcoming games. Monster Masters, a Dragon Warrior Monsters game, is discussed, involving raising monsters and battling. WCW comes to Game Boy. Previews WCW Mayhem. When Rats Attack is Mindscape's N64 title described as a cat-and-mouse game. Carnage with Style previews Carmageddon for the N64 with its zombie gore. 3Do Think Small describes Game Boy Color versions of 3Do games like Army Men 2 and Battle Tanks. Minions from Midway mentions NBA Showtime 64 and Paperboy 64. The Coming Soon section shows screenshots of Paperboy 64, Donkey Kong 64, and NBA Showtime 64. On the right is Pack Watch Release Forecast, listing games coming out in the fall of 1999, and in the future, in particular the Future section, has games such as Battlezone 64, Pro Bowling, Daikatana. This page is an advertisement for Battletank's Global Assault on the Nintendo 64. The ad features the characters from The Wizard of Oz running from a tank. The tank is positioned on the yellow brick road heading towards the Emerald City. In-game screenshots are displayed showing explosive tank battles. The ad also highlights the game's features, including insane weapons, modes of destruction, 4-player head-to-head action, 22 new levels, and 12 tanks. The next page is a preview of upcoming Nintendo 64 games, featured in the next issue of Nintendo Power, Volume 126, November 1999, with the main highlights being Donkey Kong 64 and the return of Diddy, Lanky, Tiny, and Chunky. There's also a preview of Battletank's Global Assault, following up on the events from the last page with new tanks and city wreckage. Additionally, there's a mention of Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside 2, promising improved animations and gameplay. The page includes a list of NP back issues with titles like Jet Force Gemini Preview, Gauntlet Legends, Hybrid Heaven, and various sports games. There is an advertisement for the Pokemon Snap official Nintendo Player's Guide, coming October 25th. Highlighting detailed maps, tips for catching Pokemon, field guides with stats, and coverage of yellow, red, and blue game packs. This page is an advert for Road Rash 64 coming soon to Nintendo 64 with a tagline, 180 miles per hour slap in the face anyone? The game features multiplayer modes for up to 4 players, including Deathmatch, Cop Mode, and Tag, 200 miles of interconnected tracks, and a Thrashin' soundtrack. Players can brawl with grudges and alliances, choose from over 25 bikes and characters, and use new weapons.